I'm Dr. Helen Crowley. I'm a nature and biodiversity expert. I'm actually a wildlife biologist by training that has wandered through the wilds of Madagascar, Australia, and Africa, and ended up in the wilds of corporate sustainability and investment. I realize I'm a bit of a compulsive problem solver, and to solve the problems of livelihoods and conservation and animal preservation and ecosystem integrity and all the things that we need to have a healthy planet and a thriving society. But then I thought, you know what, if we made different decisions further along the supply chain, we wouldn't have to deal with so much on the ground, right? So then I got involved in corporate sustainability, and I worked for a decade with Kering, the global luxury company. That was actually, when I joined, it was called PPR, and it had Puma, it had sport and lifestyle brands under its corporate umbrella as well as luxury. And then over the decade or so that I worked, it transformed, it became Kering, and it was more of a luxury player with Gucci, Balenciaga, Yves Saint Laurent, Stella McCartney, Alexander McQueen. So all these amazing brands that were really, really trying to lead on thinking, what does sustainability and luxury look like? How do we make that work? 70% of impact of a product is in the design. So here you have luxury that is about design, it's about creativity, it's about beautiful materials, it's about longevity, durability, it's about passing it on to the next generation. So the choice you make about what you build and how you build it is going to have all these repercussions right down the supply chain, as in terms of impact, positive and negative. So that's where it's really important to sort of be thinking about how things are designed, not only to reduce impact, but have positive impact, but also how to build in design so that you can enable a circularity. If the design is not done well, so you can't dismantle or unpack or the product for circularity later, then that doesn't help either. So that's why the design phase is really important. We might have to get a little bit into definitions, right? Because words like sustainability and circularity and regenerative even are just thrown around a lot. Let's look at the circular economy and the principles behind that. But there are three main principles, right? One is that you design to eliminate waste and pollution, right? You just need to have materials and processes that aren't creating horrible negative outcomes with toxic products and that aren't wasteful, right? We just need to minimize waste. The second main principle is around keeping things circulating, right? Keeping those products. So instead of going take, make, use, waste, you can sort of go borrow, design differently, make, recycle, repair, and then back again, you know, so we're keeping things moving in the system. And then the third principle, which often is left off to the side, which I will never leave off to the side, in fact I should have put it first, is regenerate nature. So if you want a circular economy and you want to contribute to a circular economy, you need to be thinking about those three legs of a stool. You can't just do one. How can we get really high value, fabulous materials, whether they're wool or cashmere or leather or silk, that create positive outcomes for the land, for communities, and that also create a valuable resource that can then create and enable more circularities. And so how do you turn textiles back into textiles, right? Or how do you create new materials that have less of a footprint, less of an impact than some other materials? And what's interesting in this space of sort of technology and innovation and thinking about how that enables and supports circularity and sustainability is that you can actually learn across sectors as well. So we talk about luxury fashion, but what the car industry doing is really innovative as well. And there's a lot of shared learnings. And it is important, I think, for the luxury sector to sort of set a trend and experiment and try out some of these technologies and approaches and innovations so that others can also learn from. We're dealing with sort of complex issues here about saving the world, changing business models, making different choices. It's all a bit overwhelming often for consumers. So how do you tell a smart, compelling, exciting story about a product or a brand and what it does and what it doesn't do? But it's technology that's enabling tracking this. It's enabling a visualization of where your farm is or where your forest is and what's happening. You can use the most amazing GIS visualizations, drones, all sorts of things that can visualize your supply chain, track through it to product materials, and there's all different fantastic traceability systems out there. So that is one example across the board, not just in fashion, where technology is super helpful. In fashion, there's been, particularly in luxury, they've been testing out a lot of these traceability technologies. There are some new frontiers of regulation that have come onto the sort of horizon, and they're around the Task Force for Climate-Related Financial Disclosure and the Task Force for Nature-Related Financial Disclosure, TCFD and TNFD, which isn't regulated in legislation yet, but it is it looks like that will move to a place where companies will have to disclose the financial risk that is associated with their impact on climate and their impact on nature and their dependency on nature, not just their impact, but their dependency, how they depend on agriculture or natural raw materials or forestry. Those sort of things like that, regulation like that sparks creativity, sparks innovation. And I think a lot of the innovation that we're seeing in this space is coming from addressing, that regulation and addressing how do we build a viable, successful business with all those new rules in place. And what, of course, it also enables is storytelling to the consumer, not just reporting to a regulator or to an investor, but also a visualization of that. But it's also storytelling. And when I say stories, I mean authentic stories. I mean science-based, data-driven, real things that are happening, not just stories because we want to make up a story, real stories. So you can tell compelling and visualize compelling elements and characteristics about your product and about what you stand for as a company. So that is super brilliant.
Luxury brands in particular have an amazing opportunity to demonstrate how products are produced and show that it's been done in the most ethically sourced way. And in fact, I'd say it's becoming an obligation. Sustainability, of course, is incredibly complex. It requires a careful analysis from every element of the supply chain. And that is not easy to do. It's not one technology, it's not one partner. It's bringing all of those things together into one end-to-end supply chain visibility and sustainability dashboard.